Well, it's late summer here in Fremont, and it's time to prune the blackberries again. Right, Blue Jay? Yep, he says, yep, prune the blackberries. There's a few things we need when we're pruning blackberries. We're going to need a pair of shears. They should be sharp. Sharpen them up. You're going to need a pair of loppers. Loppers are the larger shear, longer handles, better leverage. The blackberry is a little bit harder to figure out what to cut and what not to cut than the raspberry is, because in the blackberry all of the canes are all green at ground level, whether they're this year's or last year's. With the blackberry, you have to look up a little ways, and one of the things that's a dead giveaway are the flower buds, or the stems left from the berries. Those will tell you exactly what stalk it is that you need to remove, because we're going to take away all of last year's growth and we're going to tie up all of this year's growth. So there's going to be three things distinct about last year's growth. One is you can see where the berries used to be. Two, it's going to have some brown crunchy leaves on it. This year's growth should not, unless you had some severe plant problems. Also, it's going to be tied up. Right here you see a shoelace, and so this year's growth will not be tied up. It's free, and last year's growth is tied up. So that's how I'm going to go about figuring out what I'm cutting and what I'm not cutting here. You can see here I have a cane that's free and in the air. This cane is from this year's growth, and that's what I'm saving that will be tied up in place. So, getting started here, I'm going to start right here by cutting these canes off right below the tie from last year. And I'm going to follow them down here to ground level. Go. Take that one out. And another one here. Okay. Two of the canes that were tied last year. It appears we have more. Right here's another one. So again, I'm cutting it off right below the tie. Leave the tops tight in place for now. The important issue here is that I disconnect them. So at ground level I can tell the difference between this year's and last year's canes. Well, now that I've got all the old canes separated at ground level, next thing I'm going to do is get in here and untie the loops that I made last year. There we go. You see I've been using the Merrill rope coil technique over here, where all the canes were turned into hoops. Worked very well. It's a wonderful crop of blackberries this year. A lot of things didn't do so well because of all the dry weather, but the blackberries did just great. Okay, now we've got everything off of the trellis. You can see here what I'm left with are great big long arching canes. Green ones have no flower buds on them. See right here, okay? No flower buds. Big long green arching canes without dead leaves. And this is going to be what we'll use for next year's crop. So I got to tie these up. Alrighty, and the way that I will tie these up is I'm going to train them into hoops. So I'll start on this side right here. This one. Bring it around into itself, just like coiling a rope. Okay. There we go. Good. I've got it under control. I'm going to take a shoelace. I'm going to tie it around it. Okay, and I'm going to use the classic shoelace bow because these laces last for many years. And so if I put a bow in it, I can take it back off next year. Alright, there's number one. Looks like we have 4 really nice stout canes here this year to tie up. There we go. Weaving it in and out of itself. Sort of like making a basket out of it. There we go. Tie this one over here. Alrighty, looking good. That's number 3. Right. One more here. This one's going to be the tall one. Well, I have 4 canes that we've kept down here at ground level. They're the fresh ones that grew this year. They had no flower buds on them. Hardly any dead leaves. That's the way you identify them. And then up here, I have trained the rest of the canes into big looping spirals. I have coiled the canes up like they were a rope, twisted them in on themselves, and then taken ties and tied them down to the trellis. Our work is done here. This will be all we need to do until they start growing out next year. It's as simple as that. Now if you have the thornless varieties, this is a triple crown which has no thorns on it, this work is really easy. If you happen to have the thorny ones and you're not going to replace them with thornless varieties, then I guess you're going to have to get some gloves. I didn't need them for this job because mine are smooth as a baby's behind. Some people do prefer some of the thorny varieties, and so if you find that the flavor is superior or that plant grows better in your area, then that's the thing to use. You'll just have to put up with that one extra nasty that the guys with the thornless berries won't have to. Handling a smooth cane is a very simple proposition. There won't be any injury. About all there is to it. We just want to make sure that we've taken out all the canes that fruited the previous year. They're the ones that had the flower buds hanging on them. You can see it. We took all the canes that grew this year. I have allowed them to go to full length. I don't prune my new growth canes on blackberries. A lot of people do that, and I don't think that that's a real advantage for you because it actually makes them harder to train. The longer and stiffer and straighter the new cane is when it comes out, the easier it's going to be to go ahead and work it into whatever kind of shape or trellis you have, because a long cane will take to the arch that you need to bend it to more easily than a short cane will. There is a whole variety of patterns. People use S-curves. I use circles. You use zigzags. There's just a whole lot of different things you can do with a blackberry cane, but the main thing you need to do with it, no matter what shape you're training them to, is to keep the tips off the ground. That's where blackberry growers get into trouble. You'll hear people say, "Oh, I can't grow berries because they run out of control." Well, there's really no such thing as an out-of-control blackberry. There's just a gardener that doesn't keep up with maintenance, from my point of view. With the blackberry, the whole rule is don't let the tip ever touch the ground, because if the tip touches the ground, it will peg and put down roots at the end that will then spring up a new plant, and so your patch will begin to leapfrog on you and start coming up in places where you never planted it. As I showed you here, there's only 4 canes there at the bottom. This planting is probably about 8 or 9 years old, and in all that time, it's never really gotten any larger at ground level. Okay, so don't believe what some people are telling you about the fact that blackberries get out of control. It's a fabulous fruit. It grows in almost all of our state. Blackberries will grow most places. It's a fabulous fruit, has many uses, totally delicious. I mean, I raise a lot of really exotic things, but there are very few things as delicious as a fresh, ripe blackberry. Oh man, I tell you. And so it's an easy fruit. Don't be scared off by the fact that people get worried about the blackberry running. It does not run. Okay, it is possible that if you're cultivating around the bottom of the plant a lot, you might cut roots free, and if you did that, then you may get a root sucker. That can happen if you're chopping at the roots. I don't chop below my plants. As soon as we get done here with the video, I'm going to grind up all the leavings that I took down from this last year. It has no insects or diseases, and I'm going to use it as a mulch on the ground under my plants. So I don't cultivate under blackberry. I just simply pile organic matter on top of the ground to keep the weeds down. I suggest you try the same thing. As long as you don't have any diseases in those canes, they make a great mulch for the new berry canes to grow out of. All right, that's all there is to it. So enjoy those berries, happy gardening, and don't be afraid of the blackberry.